Yo, what is up? It is your boys there, back with the finale to What If Deku Could Quick Save. I know this one's a little bit more of a quicker series, but come on now, boys. Anyways, on the last part, we had basically left off with Bakugo leaving the arena angered after losing. As soon as Bakugo left, he would actually go to All For One and demand that he makes him stronger. Now, this is when All For One would smile and he would look at the doctor as the doctor looks at Bakugo and says, well, there is something we could do. Bakugo would proceed to be like, what is it? And they would tell him about the operation that Shigaraki had actually gone through in the original canon. They would proceed to give him All For One, and Bakugo would actually be known as the next successor of All For One. Now, Bakugo's explosions would become more than just the power of a nuke. They would be able to destroy a city with just the normal explosions that he has. So, his final battle is going to be extremely insane. Now, it's going to have the power to destroy an entire city with the strongest explosions, and his weaker ones are going to be about the size of destroying an entire building. So you guys already know it's going to be insane. Now, for the hero side, Deku at this point would be going on the agency. In terms of that, he would still go with Gran Torino. Gran Torino would train him just like in usual, except it would revolve around more combat training. Now, Deku would proceed to basically have everything happen to him as in canon, in terms of the bus ride with Gran Torino getting attacked by the Nomu and Deku jumping out, saving Ida, getting told by the police dog, and such as that. Now, as the normal storyline is going on, Bakugo during these next couple months is going to be having his body experimented on, getting ready for the final war. And yeah. Now, after that whole stain incident, the kids would arrive to have their final exam. Now, in terms of the actual exam written on paper, Deku would proceed to just use his quirk like I had said in the first part and basically just ace the test. He would take it and retake it over and over until he finally got all the answers right. And everybody would be caught off guard saying that Deku is extremely smart. And Deku would just be like, yeah, I guess. And Deku would end up passing that. In terms of the actual final, it would be a battle with Emiko Todoroki. Yeah, Emiko Todoroki and Deku versus All Might. Now, as soon as the battle starts, he and her would proceed to get into a fierce battle with All Might, going straight in for the attack. Emiko would use her ice powers to be more on the defensive as Deku goes in there and rushes in, speed blitzing All Might, hitting him from every angle, trying to weaken him down. Now, at one point, All Might would have actually thrown a smash that actually ended up hitting Emiko Todoroki and knocking her out a little bit. But Deku would proceed to go back before that could happen, tank the damage, and then rush at All Might, hitting him straight through the gate and winning. Now, after that happens, they would proceed to get told about the training camp, and they would arrive to the training camp. Now, once they get there, this is when all of the kids would be like, you guys stopped a little short, didn't you? And the teachers would have a little bit of a grin on their face as they would just throw them off. Deku would jump off and land perfectly as the rest of them would get caught off guard. In terms of on their way there, Deku and the rest of the class would have basically done it together, and Deku would have been an immense help. They all would have made it back to base camp with far less troubles and 2 hours to spare. Meaning it took them 1 hour to get there. And yeah, so this is when the heroes would actually have the food ready for them, and Deku would actually be pretty hungry at this point. He would dig in, and this is when he would actually meet Koda. Now, as soon as he sees Koda, he would look at him and say, hey there, little guy, like, what's up? Now, Koda would come in to punch him in the nuts, and Deku would fall in pain. He would then quick save before, catch Koda's hand, and ask him again, what's up, little man? And Koda would just kind of like scoff at him as he just walks away. He's like, oh, you guys are fake heroes. You guys should just give up. You guys aren't going to amount to nothing, like his little bitch boy self. Now, this is when Deku would actually just be like, whatever. And they would proceed to eat, as well as go in the little heart springs. Now, Mineta, he would do what he does best and would try to see the girls. And this is when Koda would fall off. Now, as Izuku had done in canon, he would proceed to save him. And this is when the nighttime would roll around. As soon as nighttime rolls around, they would hear some fires through the woods, and Deku would see that Koda's not around, so he would proceed to go look for him. This is when he would see Muscular. Now Deku would see Muscular and immediately know that this guy is dangerous. Koda would be terrified, and this is when Muscular would go in to punch him, and Koda would have barely survived, with Deku catching him in the last second. Now this is when Koda would use his water quirk as he tries to blast Muscular, and Muscular says, "Hey, you remind me of somebody. These two heroes that took my eyes." And Koda would learn that Muscular was the killer of his parents. Now, after hearing this, Deku would get enraged, and Deku would immediately rush in to start fighting Muscular. This battle would be a little bit of a hard one, since Muscular has shock absorption essentially, and he was using his muscles to try to keep up with Deku. Deku, however, ended up overpowering him, and they would have gone into a very, very strong brawl. Now, at the end of it, Deku would have actually ended up winning with mid difficulty, and then he would proceed to go into the woods and save Tokiyami. He would take him to Todoroki and Bakugo like he did in canon, and this is when they would take out Moonfish. Now, when the mask guy comes in, the magic user, he would take Bakugo and Tokiyami. When he takes Bakugo, oh wait, no, Bakugo isn't there, huh? He would take Emiko Todoroki, and Deku would be having none of this. Deku would use full cowling at 80%, pushing his body beyond any of its previous limits, and would continue to speed blitz right at him. He would destroy the masked hero, and he would legit blow him about a mile away with a single punch. He would take the orb and take Emiko Todoroki out. Now, this is when she would basically proceed to thank him for what he had done, and Deku would say no problem. Now, after the entire incident, the cleanup would go as follows, as in canon. And Deku would proceed to basically be a little grateful that this is all that happened. So Deku would proceed to just be like, thank God. Now, after this, Deku would basically be in the hospital, just waiting for all of his classmates to get better, when Momo would tell him about the fact that she put a tracker on the Nomu's back. The heroes would decide to go, and All Might would actually tell the heroes that they should take Izuku Midoriya with them, since he may be an immense help in this mission. And Izuku would actually be very keen on that. He would be like, yes, like I'd be so down to help you guys. This is when the heroes would be a little bit hesitant on whether they should or shouldn't take him, but in the end they would end up taking him. Now, this means that Deku would be in the fight against All For One, and in terms of that fight, it would have gone a lot easier. Except this time, when All For One ends up revealing what happens, All For One would proceed to tell All Might about Tomura, how they incarcerated the grandson of Nana Shimura, and All Might would kind of lose his footing, leading to All Might getting a giant black spear thrown into his heart as he dies and falls. And this is when All For One would proceed to laugh as Deku's enraged, and he says, "Master!" as he then rushes at All For One, and All For One begins to fight Deku. They're having a very equal battle up until All For One ends up telling Deku that his successor is Bakugo, Katsuki Bakugo. And Deku, after hearing this, would kind of have his world collide and shatter as he, Bakugo? Kachan, I did this, as he just is like, it's my fault. And Deku's like, I can still save him. I can still save him. As he then proceeds to start fighting against All For One. Now, as this is happening, Bakugo would have actually arrived, and Deku would have, as this is happening, Deku was about to land the final blow on One For All as Katsuki arrived. And he was angry, dude. He was angry. He was fuming from the mouth as he released a giant explosion, obliterating the city behind Deku and almost killing him. Deku would go back to before he used that explosion, and he would press Bakugo to the point where he can't use any of his explosions. This battle would be a very hard fought one, and in terms of who has the upper hand, it'd be very equal because they would both have almost equal amount of strength. That battle would go with Bakugo landing hits with explosions powering them, and Deku using his evasion quirk to dodge some of them. He would use float to fly around and would use Black Whip to try to catch Bakugo off guard. I don't know if I said already that Deku has these abilities, but at this point he has 80%. So he has Float, Black Whip, and Danger Perception, I think it is. And they would begin to get into a rough battle. But this is when Bakugo would get enraged and would say, "Enough! If I can't take you out, I'll take everything out!" As he begins to launch a giant explosion. And Deku goes in to try to stop him, but before he can, Bakugo explodes everything. He explodes an entire city. Everything around him within a 40-mile radius gets obliterated, and hundreds of heroes as well as civilians get killed. After seeing this, Deku would go back to before when they were kids, and Deku would proceed to this time actually befriend Bakugo. He would take a different approach this time. He would befriend Bakugo, and this would change the entire story. Deku being friends with Bakugo means that a lot of the things would have changed. Bakugo and Deku would have trained under All Might. Bakugo and Deku would have actually been doing their best. Deku would still end up with Emiko Todoroki, and Bakugo and Deku would actually fight her and Ida in the little heroes versus villains. In terms of USJ attack, Deku ends up capturing Shigaraki, and this time he does it with the help of Bakugo, having Bakugo actually take him out. This changes a lot of things for the future, as soon as they have the UA Sports Festival, Bakugo actually ends up in second place and Deku ends up in first, but knowing the secret, Bakugo isn't that angry. Deku tells him about ways that he can become stronger and about the way that he thinks that he could use his quirk, and Bakugo becomes exponentially stronger this time. Deku still has his relationship develop with Emiko Todoroki, and all of that goes the same. Now, this means that Bakugo won't become a villain, and Shigaraki would be caught. So everything else would happen with the Stain arc, as per usual, with Bakugo actually ending up going with Endeavor this time, as well as Emiko Todoroki. She would go with Endeavor as well as Bakugo, and Deku would actually end up going with Gran Torino, just like in canon. He would save Ida just like he did in the original version, and when it comes to the exams, Deku and Bakugo would have that fight. Now Deku and Bakugo would take out All Might, and that's basically where we're gonna stop there. We're gonna get back into the story. Now Deku would be thinking about what kind of turn Bakugo had in his life, and he would basically just put that behind him, as he has no time to think about that. Since right after the giant fight against One For All, they ended up they didn't take the final. Yeah, they did take the final exams. Yeah, the forest training arc would actually be what's it called? Oh, I messed that one up. He wouldn't go all the way to the training. He would basically essentially only go to the forest festival and stay. After that, they would have the little forest training arc, and this is when we get back into a normal storytelling. Now, Bakugo and Deku would arrive at the fight against All Might, and they would proceed to body him. This is when they would be told about the little thing, and Deku would proceed to just basically have a race with Bakugo to see who could get to the point that they're going to be resting at the training camp. And Deku would actually end up winning, with Bakugo being like, whatever, nerd. As the rest of that goes to canon with Bakugo training, except his training would actually be 2 times harder. In terms of when the night comes around, Deku would actually save Kota just like he did in the original, and when it comes to the muscular fight, Deku would jump in there and take him out, no problem. 80% One For All using all of his quirks, restraining Muscular with his Black Whip and making him fly into the air, making Muscular a little fodder because he can't destroy the surrounding area and he can't hurt anybody. So Deku would have taken him out rather quickly. In terms of Tokiyami freaking out, he would begin to save him with Bakugo by his side, creating a giant explosion, making Tokiyami go back into a dark shadow going back to Tokiyami. In terms of the All For One fight, Deku would be having none of it. And as soon as it happens, Deku would blitz in there, going straight after Shigaraki, and would immediately... Oh wait, no, Shigaraki's taken out of the picture. He would blitz in there trying to take out as much people as possible. This when All For One would appear. Now when the All For One battle starts, Deku would not have any desire to hold back, as in the last time he fought him, he ended up killing All Might. Before he could tell All Might about Tomura Shigaraki's connection to Nana Shimura, Deku would have holding nothing back, and he would immediately rush in there, using 100% of One For All into one very, very strong attack. He would go in there and punch All For One straight on his mask, destroying his head mask that lets him breathe, and Deku would have disfigured All For One even more than he was in canon. Now Deku would have basically ended up ruining him, and this is when Deku would actually be regarded as one of the greatest heroes of all time. In terms of what happens next, for the cleanup, they end up having the introduction with Mirio, and Mirio actually hits it off with Deku, with Mirio being very similar to Deku in terms of body size, and Deku actually, having a very good connection with Night Eye this time. Night Eye would actually approve of Deku, and Deku would actually have a very solid relationship with him. Now, when Eri comes out, however, this time Deku would not let her escape. This time, Deku would do things right and would immediately rush at Chisaki, as Chisaki tries to evade anything that he can, but Deku would not be having any of this. Deku would immediately rush in there and punch Chisaki, breaking his jaw, and Chisaki would overhaul that back into place, and Deku would realize that to take him out, he needs to use all the stops. So Deku would proceed to get in there and Night Guy him, basically, just like Might Guy had done to Madara, punching him from side to side, ragdolling him as much as he possibly could. And this is when All For One, Chisaki, would end up getting taken out ultimately. This will actually mark the end to What If Deku Could Quick Save. I hope you guys enjoyed this story as much as I did. It was definitely really fun to see how Deku could just simply go back in time and fix the events as in canon. Now, the reason that this one was a little bit more of a quicker story was because essentially the only thing that Deku would be able to do is go back and fix his mistakes, meaning that a lot of the things that happen in canon would basically go the same, with Deku just having a much easier time in terms of everything that he does. So that's my take on What If Deku Could Quick Save. If you guys enjoyed this, please make sure to leave a like down below. And be sure to be active tomorrow, as tomorrow I'm actually going to be finishing What If Deku Had Paint Magic. And I'm also going to be dropping 2 new series. Yeah, I'm going to be dropping 2 new series on this channel. Hope you guys are hyped for that. But with that being said, Zedder out.